When Jake Holloway walked into the SEAL gym that chilly Thursday morning, no one gave him a second glance. He looked like any other middle-aged veteran trying to stay in shape, quiet, broad-shouldered, and carrying the kind of calm that made noise seem unnecessary. His black hoodie was plain, his sneakers worn, and his eyes, gray and steady, carried something most men at that gym had never seen up close, the weight of too much history. He signed in with a nod to the front desk clerk and walked straight to the weight rack, headphones in, country music humming low. It wasn't that he wanted to be invisible. He just preferred it that way. After all, the last thing he wanted was attention, especially here, in Coronado, where the walls still whispered of missions and memories best left buried. Jake was a single dad now. His days revolved around his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, her school runs, her piano lessons, the bedtime stories she never let him skip. Everything else was background noise. The gym was his only escape. His 1-hour peace between drop-off and work at the local repair shop. But peace has a way of ending when you least expect it. That morning, a group of active duty SEALs were training near the obstacle course, young, loud, and fearless. Their energy filled the gym, laughter echoing through steel and sweat. Among them was Commander Rachel Knox, the newly appointed leader of SEAL Team 5. She was a force of nature, sharp-eyed, lean, and respected by every man who had ever served under her. Rachel didn't notice Jake at first. She was too focused on her team's form during their weighted runs. But when she stopped by the water fountain, her gaze flicked toward the squat rack, and froze. The man lifting there was something about his stance. Not the movement, though it was precise, efficient, practiced, but the discipline behind it. The quiet control, the kind you didn't fake. She watched for a moment longer. Then, as Jake racked the barbell and reached for his towel, he wiped his neck, and for the briefest second, the collar of his hoodie slipped down. Rachel's heart stuttered. She saw it, a tattoo, faded but unmistakable. An eagle clutching a trident and anchor, wings spread wide, the old insignia of SEAL Team 6. Her SEAL team, the unit most men only whispered about. And below it, 3 small letters inked in black, G5. Her breath caught. Ghost 5, that couldn't be. That call sign had been gone for nearly a decade, since the mission in Kandahar that no one talked about anymore. The mission that went wrong. The one that left half a team dead and the rest scarred for life. And Ghost 5 was listed Kia. Rachel straightened slowly, pulse hammering. She walked toward the squat rack, her boots echoing against the rubber floor. Jake noticed her in his periphery but didn't react. He just grabbed his water bottle, unscrewed the cap, and took a calm sip. "Excuse me," she said evenly. He turned his head, meeting her eyes. There was no recognition in his expression, only polite curiosity. "Yeah," she gestured slightly toward his neck. "That tattoo, where'd you get it?" Jake's gaze sharpened, just a flicker, barely there. "Old unit. Long time ago." Her chest tightened. "You served with Team 6. He gave a small nod. "Used to. What was your call sign?" He hesitated, and for a moment, she thought he might walk away. Then he said quietly, "Doesn't matter anymore. That life's over." Rachel's heart thudded. "It's him. It has to be him. But how? Ghost 5, Jake Holloway, was supposed to be dead." "Wait," she said softly, lowering her voice. "Jake Holloway." He froze. For a long second, his mask slipped. The gym noise faded, leaving only the hum of fluorescent lights and the slow rhythm of his breath. Then he sighed, his eyes softening with something like regret. "You've got a good memory, Commander." Rachel's throat went dry. "You're supposed to be dead." He gave a faint, humorless smile. "Yeah, been trying to stay that way." She stared at him, the man she'd read about in debriefings, the ghost who'd covered a retreat under fire so the rest of his team could live. The man whose body was never recovered. The man she'd once admired more than she ever admitted. "Why disappear?" she asked quietly. "We thought you didn't have much choice," Jake interrupted, voice low but steady. "After Kandahar, things went sideways. Orders got messy. People needed a scapegoat. Easier to let Ghost 5 die than explain what really happened." Rachel's mind reeled. "You mean, the mission?" He nodded. "I took the fall. Intel failure, civilian loss. It wasn't clean, and they knew it. So they buried the file, and me with it." Her stomach twisted. "And all this time, you've been here. In Coronado." He shrugged. Somewhere quiet. My daughter's school's close by. Figured I'd done enough running. Rachel looked at him, really looked. The quiet strength, the worn hands, the eyes that had seen too much and still managed to stay gentle. You have a daughter. Emma, he said softly, and something in his tone warmed the air between them. Smart kid. Thinks her old man's a mechanic. Rachel smiled faintly. You always were a terrible liar. Jake chuckled, the sound rare and low. Guess I haven't improved. For a moment, silence settled, not awkward, but heavy with everything unspoken. The gym sounds returned in fragments, clanging metal, distant chatter, the thud of boots on mats. Then Rachel said, you know, if the brass found out. They won't, he cut in gently. And neither will you. Her jaw tightened. You think I'd turn you in? I think you're still one of the good ones, he said simply. And good ones follow the rules. She crossed her arms. Maybe. But sometimes the rules are wrong. Jake's eyes softened. That's why I respected you, Commander. She almost smiled. Almost. Rachel. He nodded once. Rachel. For the rest of that morning, the two of them trained side by side. No words, just quiet understanding. She spotted him on his lifts. He adjusted her grip during pull-ups. Every movement felt charged, not with romance, but recognition, like two pieces of a story finally realigned. When their session ended, Rachel lingered by the exit. You know they still talk about that mission, she said. The one in Kandahar. They never found the leak. Jake's expression darkened. Maybe they weren't looking hard enough. What do you mean? He hesitated. You ever wonder why the target knew we were coming? Why those civilians were there at all? Rachel frowned. You think someone inside leaked it, Jake finished. Yeah, someone high up. And when it all blew up, I was the name they erased. Rachel's pulse raced. Do you have proof? He gave a small smile. Not anymore. But I remember faces. Orders. Calls that didn't add up. She studied him carefully. If that's true, they owe you everything. He shook his head. They owe the dead everything. I just want my kid safe. Rachel felt something twist inside her, a mix of anger and admiration. You can't just hide forever, Jake. Someone needs to tell the truth. Truth doesn't change what happened, he said quietly. But it could ruin the only peace I've found. That should have been the end of it. But fate wasn't done yet. 2 days later, the SEAL gym buzzed with chaos. Rumors spread like wildfire, an internal review, old classified files resurfacing. Someone had leaked that the Kandahar report was falsified. Whispers of corruption, of names long protected, began to circulate. Rachel was called into a closed meeting with the regional commander, and when she emerged, pale-faced, she knew exactly what she had to do. That night, she found Jake sitting alone on a bench outside the gym. The sun was gone, the parking lot quiet except for the hum of streetlights. They reopened the case, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Someone sent them encrypted documents, evidence, comms logs, satellite data. It clears your name. Jake looked up slowly. That's not possible. It is, she said. They know you're alive, Jake. He blinked once, jaw tightening. You did this. Rachel shook her head. No. Someone else did. The file came from an anonymous source. Jake's eyes flickered with realization. Then it's not over. Before she could ask what he meant, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, no caller ID. He answered, voice cautious. A metallic tone crackled through. Ghost 5, you should have stayed dead. The line went dead. Rachel's heart pounded. Who was that? He stood slowly, scanning the shadows. Someone who doesn't like loose ends. Jake, you need protection. He gave her a steady look. If they're coming, they won't go through me. They'll go for Emma. Rachel's breath caught. Then we move her. Tonight. By midnight, they were on the road. Jake driving his old truck. Rachel beside him, Emma asleep in the back seat clutching her stuffed dolphin. The night stretched ahead, endless and dark. Where are we going? Rachel asked. Safe house in Big Bear. Old SEAL property. Nobody but me and one other knows about it. Who's the other? Jake's lips curved faintly. You don't want to meet him before coffee. Despite everything, she laughed softly, the sound breaking the tension for a heartbeat. Then silence returned, and the weight of their situation pressed down again. You think this has to do with that leak? She asked. I know it does, he said grimly. Someone's cleaning house before the truth gets out. And you, I'm the last witness. Rachel looked at him, at the man the world thought was dead, now risking everything for a little girl asleep in the back seat. You deserve justice, Jake. He shook his head. I don't care about justice. I care about her. The road wound through dark hills, headlights cutting through mist. When they reached the cabin near dawn, Jake carried Emma inside, tucked her into bed, and stood by the window, rifle in hand, eyes scanning the treeline. Rachel watched him quietly. You never stopped being a protector, did you? He smiled faintly. Old habits die hard. For the next 2 days, they stayed off-grid. No phones. No contact. Rachel helped set up perimeter alarms, cooked canned food, and kept Emma distracted with stories about when her dad was a hero, though Emma just rolled her eyes, insisting her dad was just a mechanic who made the best pancakes in the world. But peace never lasts. On the third night, just past midnight, the alarms went off. Jake was up instantly, rifle raised. Rachel moved beside him, calm and ready. Outside, 2 black SUVs rolled up the dirt road, headlights off, engines low. Men stepped out, silent and tactical. SEALs, Rachel muttered. No, Jake said grimly. Contractors. Private. Hired hands. Bullets cracked through the night. Jake pushed Rachel down. Stay with Emma. He moved like a ghost, fast, precise, efficient. The years melted away. In seconds, 2 men were down, their weapons stripped, their radios crushed. Rachel joined him, returning fire with ruthless accuracy. Then, silence. When the last man fell, Jake picked up a dropped radio. Who sent you? A raspy voice replied, you shouldn't have come back, ghost. Jake's grip tightened. Tell your boss I'm done hiding. He crushed the radio under his boot. Rachel exhaled, adrenaline fading. You think this will stop them? Jake looked toward the horizon, where dawn began to break over the mountains. No, but it'll make them think twice. He turned to her, weary but calm. You should go back, Rachel. Report what happened. Clear my name. What about you? I'll keep Emma safe. That's all that matters. She stepped closer. You can't raise her in hiding forever. Jake smiled faintly. I'll find a way. Rachel hesitated, then placed a small flash drive in his palm. Backup of the files. In case something happens to me. He looked at it, then at her. You trust me that much? I always did, she said softly. Even when the world didn't. Jake's throat tightened. Thank you. She smiled sadly. Stay alive this time, ghost. He watched as she drove away, her taillights fading into the mist. Then he turned back toward the cabin, where Emma's laughter drifted through the cracked door. For the first time in years, Jake Holloway allowed himself to breathe. Maybe he'd never stop running. Maybe ghosts like him weren't meant to find peace. But as he lifted his daughter into his arms and felt her small hands wrap around his neck, right over the tattoo that had given him away, he realized something simple. Peace wasn't a place. It was a promise. And he intended to keep it.